Adey Al-Tai. He will gonna brief on his lecture, Coronavirus and Dentistry. Dr. Adey, you can start now if you want.
Thank you, Dr. Martin, and thank you, Covident, for this nice invitation. This topic is part of my previous lecture that already I presented at 9th of May. The name of it is Coronavirus and Dentistry. In this topic, we discussed one subject, which mask we select. In following slides, there is some abbreviations. I want to clarify it. First one is DHCP, and that means dental health care personnel. PM, particulate matter. NIOSH, the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health. FDA, Food and Drug Administration. CDC, Center of Disease Control and Prevention. MGV, Modify Green and Beasley Test Method. OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Now, this is literature published in March 19, 2020, about which type of personal protection equipment should healthcare worker use. So, in setting when healthcare facilities and inpatient facilities, patient room, when healthcare worker doing the following activities, they are providing direct care to COVID-19 patients. In this case, they are need medical mask and gown, gloves, eye protection, goggle or face shield, in case there is non-aerosol generation procedure. But in case of aerosol generation procedures performed for COVID-19 patients, we need respirator N95 or FFP2 standard or equivalent. We need also gown, gloves, eye protection, and apron. And as we know, as a dentist, majority of our procedure, it is aerosol generation procedure. So what we need is second category of personal protection equipment. And from this one, that we can see the medical mask or respirator have a crucial role in our PPE, and it is cornerstone in our battle against COVID-19 virus. As we know, there is different kind of masks. Some of them simple one, homemade or bandana, which is very simple. It is not recommended for medical staff. It have some filtration action, but it is very simple. And it have another good advantage. It prevent the wearer from touch his face. The other one is famous surgical mask and respirator, N95 respirator and other respirators, and then ventilator. Usually, we are as medical staff more common with surgical mask, and now because of pandemic, we are start to learn to use and adapt with respirators. Now, in general, if we are make simple comparison between surgical mask and N95 mask, the surgical mask protect against microorganism, body fluid, and large particle in the air. While N95 mask, it protect against airborne pollutants such as PM 2.5 particle and virus. PM 2.5, that means particulate matter. it is some borderline for the size of particle in the air and the ability of mask to filtrate this kind of particles in this size. 2.5, that means 2.5 micron. Then surgical mask, it is loose fit and designed to cover mouth and nose, while N95 is well sealed fit and designed to seal well on the face to ensure good protection. That's what we call it a rate N95 or N95 class of protection. Then surgical mask is coming in one size, uni-size, while N95 coming in three size, small, medium, large. And this will improve the fitting, which is very important. It is more custom-made mask. Now first, let us speaking about surgical mask. It is designed to help reduce patient or healthcare worker exposure from wearer-generated microorganisms. So it is protect from who is wearing the mask, and that is why some people advise to use the mask in upside down way. It is fluid-resistant mask and help to reduce potential exposure of the wearer to blood and body fluids. And there is different type of surgical mask. First one is single-use mask, simple mask they call it also. Normally it is one layer, very thin, are typically only effective at capturing large dust particles. As we mentioned in one slide or two before, we have borderline about 2.5 micron particles in general standard of a classification of mask. For this one, can filtrate particles more than 2.5 micron. The other one is surgical mask. If it is good quality and the standards, it will have high requirement for capturing virus size, like size 0.1 micron particles. And as we know, the virus caused pandemic COVID-19. The name of this virus is called SARS-2. And the size of this virus is approximately 0.1 micron. But the standard of surgical mask, it is vary from one area to another area, from one country to another country. And what about respirator? It is designed to help protect the wearer from certain airborne contamination. Have snug fit around the face to help avoid leaks. And this is two features very important, and we cannot find it in surgical mask. And for respirators, it is have another name. This name is filtering face piece respirators, FFR. Pollution mask, because usually before this pandemic, this filtering face piece respirators use when there is like chemical pollutions or wildfires. But now, because of pandemic, we use it for bioaerosol, like for example, virus. It is typically capture more than 90% of virus-sized particles. As we know, it is virus-sized particles less than 2.5 micron. And for this, filtering face piece respirators, in the market, there is different name, different type, and still we are sometimes misleading or in foggy area, which one we're choosing. And as we see here, there is N95 and FFP2, N99, FFP3, and other kind of filtering face piece respirators. So for filtering face piece respirators, sometimes called disposable respirators, and is subject to various regulatory standards around the world. These standards specify certain requirements from physical view and performance characteristics in order for respirator to claim compliance with the particular standards. In general, in case of special situations or circumstances, there is some people or part of population they are facing these special circumstances. And usually each authority or government or country puts some rules to protect these people. Which kind of equipment safe for these people when they are defense the community from these special circumstances, like for example, wildfires, air pollution, for example, volcanoes, or bioaerosols. So each country has some standard to classify the personal protection equipment. And during pandemic or emergency situation, health authorities often reference these standards when making respirator recommendations. So it is like in movies industry. When there is a new movie, some people, they are review this movie and then put rating or ranking of this movie. Either it is like, for example, P13 or P plus 16 or plus 18, for example, or maybe for family use. But this standard is different from one country to another country. Like, for example, who is classified as PG is in for example, USA is different than what's classified as PG in, for example, Afghanistan. So that's the idea of rating of the mask. For example, that certain population who is in defense of, like, for example, special circumstances, recommended by authorities to use N95 level or rank or classification of PPE, or like, for example, FFP2 or equivalent respirator. And as comparison between different kind of rating of mask. So each country has some standard for rating or ranking of respirators. For USA, the standard is NIOSH, and they call this rate or this rank N95. In Europe, they use the standard EN 1492001, and they are put what we need to fighting airborne pollution as FFP2. In China, the standard is different, and they give this class for health workers to fight airborne aerosols, KN95. In Australia, it is different. In Korea, it is different. And in Japan, also different. So all these names, it is kind of rating of the respirator. The rating cover most important for us the filtration level. So now let us to speaking. This standard depends on what? The more important criteria is filtration level. They specify the rules and testing method companies should follow the rate their mask. So each company produce one mask should have some feature of this mask and should follow the standard of authorities to be within this rate or this classification of mask. And as we said, this is standards or rank defined as what we mentioned before, N95, FFP1, 2, like this. And as I mentioned before, EN, that means it is European standard, while NIOSH is USA standard for respirators. And as we know, one of important companies that are manufacture masks is 3M. And they are generally produce masks that meet different kind of standards, like K, N95 or N95. Same company, they are produce different masks. Each mask follow some one level of the requirement or standards and give him specific name. And as we see here in this slide, the filtration level, which what we mentioned before, very important point in standard of respirator selection. So in single-use face mask, usually the particle size 3 micron will be filtered in more than 95%, but it does not have any effect on particle size 0.1 or less micron. And as we mentioned, coronavirus is about 0.1 micron. Surgical masks have also different standards. In China, it is the less because it is filtered more than 95 of large particles, more than 3.0 micron, but only do effective filtration for about percentage of 30% for 0.1 micron particles. In USA, it is better, especially for level 3 surgical mask. It is filtered more than 98% from large particles and also about 98% from small particles. So if you want to take surgical mask, please not follow Chinese standard, but follow USA standard. And even USA standard is better than European standard because as we see, like for example, make comparison between level 3 or type 3, level 3 from USA while type 3 from Europe, we can see that the American level 3 surgical mask filtering more than 98% from small particles, while the European surgical mask not filtering big amount of small particles. And about respirators, as we say, there is also different rate or different linking. So usually for China or USA rating of respirator, we can see N95 and KN95, they are filtering more than 95% of large particles, while N100 or KN100 filtered more than 99.97 from large particles, while according to European standards, the FFP2 filtering about 94% from large particles. So why this? Because this, we are putting N95 and KN95 with the same level of FFP2 2, because like both of this standard have the same, approximately the same, 95% large particle, or FFP2, 94% from large particles. The other standard that the authorities give a rate or rank for the respirator is the flow rate specified by inhalation and exhalation resistance test. And inhalation resistant test flow rate range from 40 to 160 liter per minute, while exhalation resistant testing flow rate ranging from 30 to 95 liter per minute. And as we see, there is a range. And for example, authorities in USA, they only accept the respirator in high level of this range, in high border, while for other country maybe accept the respirator in middle of this range, while other countries maybe accept the respirator and give him a rate if it is in the low level or low margin of this range. And that's why it is the standard different from one country to another country. And other standard is breathing resistance. So now we are mentioning like 4 criteria for the standardized of rating of the respirator: filtration efficiency, inhalation resistant test, exhalation resistant testing, and breathing resistance. Now let us speaking about the other point. It is little bit lecture point, but it is important. What is the meaning of PM 2.5 or N95? As we explain now, N95 is mask rating. PM 2.5 refers to particulate matter, or a fancy way for say pollution particles that are in the air. And the 2.5 refers to the size of these particles as being 2.5 micron or smaller, or maybe larger. So 2.5 microns is the border, and according to it, usually we measure the filtration efficiency and then the mask. And in this photo, we can see different kind of particles, the size. So 2.5 micron in the middle, less than this one, bacillus bacteria, and smaller than it, coronavirus, and the size of it 0.1 micron. And there is another particles filtered by mask. It is very small particles, size of it 0.007 micron. So keep in your mind that masks or respirator can filtrate the tiny particles to size of 0.007. While if we go for other side, the larger particles, we can see red blood cell, it is about 7 micron, and there is another particles like dust, it is maybe 10 micron or maybe more. And that's give us a question: did the respirator or surgical mask sufficient to filtrate the virus causing COVID-19 pandemic, which is virus SARS-2? Because the size is less than 2.5, and while when we make comparison and we measure the filtering efficiency, usually we are measuring the 2.5 filtration efficiency. This here is very nice study done in Edinburgh. And they are taking small particles. Size of it is 0.007, the teeny particles. Then they are measuring the filtration efficiency. They found that surgical mask can filtrate about 80% from the teeny particles. And another very nice study, it is done by Dr. Saint Cyrus Face. He's bring different kind of mask from different companies, and he make comparison between filtration efficiency and cost of the respirator or the mask. And he have some machine measuring the filtration efficiency for particle size. It is 0.01 to 1 micron. That means particles less 10 times from SARS-2 virus and particles more or larger 10 times than this virus. He found like in some models, like model of respirator from 3M, model 9010 can filtrate about 99.1% from the particles. And the other model is the 3M9501, which is 3M95, the famous one, can filtrate about 97.5 from these teeny particles. If we go to the Winjan surgical mask, we will see that it is filtered about 63% from the teeny particles. So if you ask me now, from this study, which is the best kind of respirator or mask, I'm thinking about different criteria, like for example, filtration, efficiency, and cost effective. So we can see that 3M model 9010, it is same cost with 3M model 9501. But filtration efficiency for model 9010 is better. And sure, if I am going for other side, surgical mask, it is cheaper than the 3M9010, but the efficiency is less. While if you told me about the Warsaw one, I told you the Rispro. It is very expensive respirator or mask, but it is filtering efficiency is not good. It is only 85.3. Then, from all this, let us speak about summary. It is reasonable to consider China KN95 and Australian one, and Korea first class, and Japan DSFR as equivalent. It is approximately the same to USA N95 and European FFP2 for filtering non-oil-based particles resulting from wildfires, PM 2.5 air pollution, volcanic eruption, and bioaerosol, like for example, viruses like virus SARS-2. So it is in somehow equivalent or equal, especially if we are working in non-oil based field. And we can see here is nice comparison between N95 from USA and KN95 from China, which is the standard to ranking this two kind of respirators. You can see everything is look like equal, starting from filter performance, flow rate, and a lot of standards. Only there is one significant difference. It is related to the leak. Like, for example, total inward leakage in KN, it is less than 8% leakage, while in N95, it is none. But we should put in our consideration, it should be weird and fitted in good way. Then N95 respirator, now we are, no, it is just a rating for respirator. There is different model following this rate. And for medical care workers, the two recommended model is 1860, 1860S and 1870. And why these are appropriate to use in medical field? Because they are meet the criteria for respirator given by Central of Disease Control for prevention the transmission of Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And also it is approved during occupational exposure to TB. These two models. Then we have many questions. Can it is used in surgery? The answer yes. It is cleared for use as a surgical mask by FDA. And it is provided greater than 99% bacterial filtration efficiency against wear generated particle according to the MGV test method. It is also fluid resistant to reduce exposure of blood and body fluid. And if it is worn in good way with other PPE, it will be compliant with the OSHA blood-borne pathogen standard. And when we use it as surgical mask, it is not need the fit testing. The other question, can we use this respirator in laser or electrocautery procedures? Answer is yes. In addition to recommended healthcare procedure that is smoke evacuator should be used to reduce the amount of smoke in the environment, because usually when we are using electrocautery or laser, we are recommended to use high volume setting to decrease the smoke in the treatment room and also to decrease the bad smell, burning smell during the procedure. But these respirators may be used further reduce the wearer exposed to electrocautery and laser plumb and offering high filtration and increase facial seal over standard surgical mask. Can we use, can it is required fit test? Yes. And this fit test include the written procedure, medical screening, training, and fit testing. And the 3M company offers the FT10, a qualitative fit apparatus, And we can see here the fit kit or fit taste apparatus from 3M. It is 10 to 20 minute fit taste procedures demonstrate that an employee can attain a good face fit with given style aspirator. Because the idea of aspirator, we should think from the filter, and we should either minimize or canceling any leakage. In general, this is the correct way that we should wear the mask or aspirator. So it is fitted in this way, and we should check there is no any leakage. 3M company, they are publish nice poster about the correct way of wear 3M respirator. So first we should handle it as a cup, fix it on our face, then while we are holding the respirator, pull the top strap in the back for your head, then we hold it and put the lower strap in our neck, and then we are adjust the area of the nose around our nose saddle. Then we are check the fitness of the respirator, and the respirator must be checked before each use to perform the fit check. And we should put both of our hands on the respirator. Then we are exhalate sharply, and we should sure there is no any leakage. If there is leakage in nose area, we should adjust the nose saddle piece. If it is in the borders, we should adjust the borders. Then the way that we are remove it, we should remove it from back side, because usually the front part of the respirator is contaminated. So we should avoid to touch it from the front part. This is reference of this like mini presentation. Thank you for listening. And now there for you, Dr. Martin.
Thank you, Dr. Adey. Really, it shows that you did very big effort to first explain to us what is the different kind of mask and respirator, and finally to help us choose which one is the best. Anyone has any question? Maybe we can open now a discussion with Dr. Adey.
Dr. Mazen, I don't know if you are record. You can now mute the record and let us transfer for internal discussion.
As you wish. Okay.